Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. All right, so there is not I think the McGinn thing is not going Saturday, Sunday. However, since I missed a day, there is a quarterback one. I do want to we're not going to do a big thing on that because I don't care as much about quarterbacks. In fact, I'd be much more interested about later quarterbacks than earlier ones because, it's not impossible we get a 6th-round quarterback again or something. But it is still interesting. I think the Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders thing is interesting. I think Jackson Dart could be interesting. First of all, Ole Miss, so that's my thing this year. I will say, though, the amount of times I saw Trey Harris, and then the other guy, there's another guy. Who is he? Jordan Watkins was really interesting to me. Not quite as much as Trey Harris, but speed guy, decent size, like on the man wide receiver chart. Anyways, the amount of times I watched these guys in the passes didn't go exactly where I want, which is a little unfair. I think every time I watch a receiver, I expect every pass to be perfect, and if they slow down, I just get ticked. It's like, that would have been a perfect freaking route, you jerk. Could have been a touchdown, man. You ruined it. You ruined everything. Anyways, I'll see if I can sift through that and find just a couple notes. And I just got a ton of other stuff that I want to pour through. In fact, I had to get started here because I've got, I don't know how many tabs open of notes that I want to separate out to put into like general combine notes and then breaking down the combine notes and the pro day notes into team notes and player notes. And I was just having a blast doing that stupid stuff. And I was like, oh, shoot, I better get started or I'm not going to end up doing a podcast. And this is not a good enough reason to not do a podcast. So we'll see how far we get. We might start delving into some of the pro day notes. Probably not, but I do want to get there because there's some pretty good insights there from Pauline. And that's really all I've been, and there's a ton of different sources and everything, but there's so much there that I haven't even gotten to anybody else. So that's the agenda today. We'll briefly touch on quarterbacks and then get caught up on some of the other news and notes stuff. All right, quick and dirty here. Cam Ward. One of the things I noticed, even when I was doing, and we've kind of known this for a little while, but when I was doing notes with all the Pauline stuff, there's no question anywhere. Like I usually it's the majority think this, but a couple think this. I haven't heard of a single team that wants Shedeur Sanders more. Got a note here. He's the best by far. I don't think there's really a comparison between him and Shedeur. He's got Mahomes-like escapability, very similar to Mahomes aesthetically. Plays like a modern NFL quarterback, which is important. Most tools in the class to work with. Shedeur Sanders, some of the positives, he'll start from day one. Strong arm. He's a worker. The negatives, though, and I don't remember necessarily seeing this as much as I saw it with like Caleb and whatnot, but there's the Caleb Williams, Justin Fields syndrome, which is what? You're not seeing the field fast enough. You're not making quick enough decisions. You hold the ball too long trying to make something happen. Negatives. The concern with him is at times he develops bad habits holding the ball too long. He's always kind of going for home run instead of settling for singles and doubles. Another guy said there again, he's also a guy who holds the ball trying to wait and make a play. And a lot of people trash his athletic ability. He goes to scramble and there's no juice there. Cam has one explosive trait, his arm. Shedeur has no explosive traits. Complete backyard football player, hero balls, holds the ball. He's not going to be able to play the way he did in college. That's what we said about Caleb Williams. He looked great in college. You can't do that in the pros. Not a wow athlete for his size and not a big man. He can't move. He's very heavy-legged. Jackson Dart led the Rebels to their first 11-win season. This guy says he might take Jackson over Shedeur. So it's kind of crazy we're getting to the point where Shedeur Sanders is moving to mid-back of the first round and Jackson Dart is moving up to back mid of the first round. I mean, it's probably relatively early to early mid for Shedeur Sanders, and Jackson probably goes first, but it's a little later, mid to late. That's how it feels right now, but, the fact that there are more notes about Jackson Dart being ahead of Shedeur Sanders than there is Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward is pretty crazy to me. He says he's got a lot more moxie and quick-mindedness. He's got a good arm, not a great arm. Might be the best athlete of these guys. Negatives, good athlete, not great athlete. Kind of heaves it up there, can't really drive stuff. Tyler Shaw, the most athletic, ran 4.6, throws it well, mature. Negatives, 26. That's never good. Every time you see that 26-year-old, they go, third, fourth, fifth round, and it just, He says he's 26 years old. He's been at 3 different schools. What are we doing here, people? Inconsistent, erratic, not a good feel for the game, 26, the whole thing. Kyle McCord out of Syracuse they have at number 5. His father played quarterback at Rutgers. Positives, he has a better arm than Howard. Ultra-high character guy, that's cool. Very bright, humble leader. Very clean mechanics, good compact throw. Biggest knock I have is what showed up at Ohio State. When pressured, he doesn't always step up and throw it. He falls away and drifts in the pocket. That was a thing that I was looking at when I know it was like the Will Levis draft year, whatever year that was. Because the thing that I was focused on that year was the ability to face pressure in the pocket, because I know Rodgers was starting to struggle with that. Kind of getting happy feet. Who are the guys that are going to stand in there? Like Tom Brady, the heck was the other guy I just had in the front of my mind? I mean, these guys will wait to the very last second and end up making a play, and it makes a big difference. So that is, in my mind, a pretty big negative. If, you're on a shot clock, and the time is going to be compressed partially by the pressure, right? If you have a bad offensive line or you're against good pass rushers, whatever. But it's also how much are you willing to take? If you see pressure out of the corner of your eye and you bail, that play is dead. The guy didn't even get to you yet. But the pressure still got to you, so the play is more or less dead, and now we can see if you can scramble and do something on the run. Left Ohio State because he couldn't play. Now we're trying to make something out of him. He can't play, what another person said. Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. Ball comes out really fast, great velocity. Completed a lot of passes in today's short pass-oriented system. Played well coming after Bo Nix. Big shoes to fill. He knew where to go with the ball. That's a very important one. Intangibles are off the charts. He's a winner. Controls the offense. Negatives, I don't like short quarterbacks, and I don't think mobile quarterbacks age well. Something tells me they didn't draft Kyler Murray. Some fundamental stuff he's got to clean up. Some tendencies that the SC quarterback at Chicago, talking about Caleb Williams, had where the feet aren't very disciplined. So funny that some of these scouts have no problem being like, yeah, he sucks, kind of like that Caleb Williams guy. I know they probably don't think Caleb sucks, but it's not afraid to say it. The caveat for me is Dylan needs to be in a dome or playing across the Sun Belt, not Northeast or NFC North quarterback. Will Howard, Ohio State, 6'4", 236. Won't ever be a top-tier guy, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him become the best of the entire group. Well, that is a sentence right there, boys and girls. He might be the best of the group and still not be a top-tier guy. I mean, it's not that big of a stretch, but it's funny because it's mostly just a knock on the entire quarterback group. He's got enough of everything. Awesome kid, big dude, better athlete than people want to give him credit for. Raised the talent on the team around him. Better version of Kenny Pickett coming out. So how is he? I mean, Kenny Pickett was a first-round pick, unless we're saying we just learned our lesson from that. I don't know. He'll be a backup somewhere. Don't want him to start. Not good enough arm talent. Not going to be a weapon running the ball. Big man, below average arm. He can't play. People are trying to make him into a prospect. What are you watching him for? That's the same scout, I guarantee it. What are we doing here, people? It's the same guy. It's just a crotchety old man who compares everybody to like the greats from the 80s and 90s when he started his career. What are we doing? I watched Joe Montana. Now that kid had it all. This kid's a piece of trash. I wouldn't spit on him if he was on fire. Quinn Ewers they have at 8, which is really funny because I remember Quinn Ewers being such a big name. He's going to be the next big thing coming up. And then he got into college, and you just didn't hear much about Quinn Ewers anymore. I remember I kept checking in like, oh, that Quinn Ewers guy, he's really good, right? It's like, no, why would you think that? I don't know. I thought it was a thing. Strong arm, good velocity, good zip. He can throw off platform. Definitely has natural stroke and feel. Does he throw a clean pass? Yeah. There's an endorsement. Started out his college very immature. Not a real buy-in to the process guy like you want your quarterback to be. That probably speaks to a lot of this. You don't usually see somebody bomb out that hard that's that good in high school, unless you're just kind of a cocky, arrogant guy that thinks everything's just going to come easy to him. Average accuracy, question his pocket presence a little bit. His issue is just overall ability. He's not a great athlete. Well, tell me how you really feel. What's wrong with him? His ability to play football would be the problem here. He's small, not mobile, doesn't have a big arm. That's the same guy from before, I guarantee it. Lack of mobility, lack of pocket strength, just killed him when they went to Georgia and Ohio State. Jalen Milroe, so they have him number 9 here, which is crazy. Just to be clear, let me look at the consensus board. They got Ward, Sanders, and Jackson Dart in the first round, with Ward and Sanders being early, Jackson Dart late. They have Milroe at 49. In the site, basically the only second round guy is Jalen Milroe. They have him at 9. So pretty wild stuff. Not a big fan. Positives, he has the highest ceiling because of the athlete and how fast he is. By the way, ridiculous athlete. Is it even listed here? I don't think it is. Oh, yeah, 40-yard dash 4.42 at 6'2", 216 pounds. Not the biggest guy, but relatively decent size for being that fast. He'd be a fun guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to take him in the second round, but if the Packers were to roll the dice, if Jalen Milroe did fall, that'd be fun, man. Beloved by his teammates, really, really good kid, willed himself to this point. With the ball under his arm, he's as distinctive as you'll find. I'll tell you what, I'll say it right here. I know we don't need a quarterback, and I know we already got a guy. I get that. If Jalen Milroe does fall, I'm in. Second round, no. Third round, no. Not that I don't know. I hate the third round so much. It's like, well, who cares? But I know that's fake, and I know that's stupid. I mean, fifth round, crazier stuff has happened. If he makes it to the fifth for whatever reason, just, I don't know. I won't be mad. Negatives, throwing stuff, he's a couple years away. I watched too many balls hit guys in ankles. I think his hand size is the reason he's so inconsistent. They would tell the kid the play on the sideline. By the time he got to the huddle, it was all messed up. With the ball in his hands in a cocked position, it's like he's got blinders on. He just does stuff on the field you can't explain. He just can't play quarterback in the NFL. Just has no feel for the game. He can't throw, not accurate at all. What are we even talking about, folks? I added that last part. At 10, Riley Leonard. Probably one of the lower passer rating. Pretty much everybody. I didn't name them, but they were all well above 100, so I just kind of let it go. His passer rating at Duke was 89.7. At Notre Dame, 96.4. His career was 92.3. Not that that's bad, but it's not the greatest in college especially. Positives, competitive as you know what. Athletic as heck. The guy's just a winner. He's a winner in life. Is that his freaking dad? You cannot help to like the guy, and the teammates love him. Negatives, inconsistent arm. He's just a number 2. I thought he was better at Duke. He's been a big disappointment. It's hilarious. And then they have the next 3 listed as Curtis Rourke of Indiana. He was better than he was at Ohio U. He played on the ACL the whole year. You got to give him some credit for the toughness. More of a game manager, has enough mobility. I know he's been coached hard his whole life. He's not a very good creature quarterback, but he can work the pocket. Okay. Max Brosmer out of Minnesota is number 12. He's not all that talented. The head coach, PJ Fleck, thought he was one of the sharpest kids he's ever coached. He transferred from New Hampshire for a 6th and final year, probably gets drafted late and probably be a quality backup. And then finally, Cam Miller out of North Dakota State. I take a flyer on him in the 6th or 7th. Strong enough arm, tough competitor, like the way he plays. North Dakota State progressed into throwing the ball more the last couple of years. He's a dual threat guy. He was a number 3 to me. That was a funny thing going back and watching North Dakota State with like Christian Watson because, man, you go on, turn on all 22 of Watson and it's run, play, run, play, run, play, run, play. It's like, oh my Lord. But why don't we go ahead and take a little break and we'll be right back. So one of the other things that did come up, not a ton to talk about here, but Tyler Dunn on the Go Long site, he did an interview with McDuffie, which, might as well talk about it. He did it. One of the things that stood out to me immediately in this is the fact that he's 25 years old, and that kind of just immediately clicked in my brain in terms of, Wilson or McDuffie, or what are we going to do? Wilson is like 31. McDuffie is 25. Of course, the Green Bay Packers are going to go with Isaiah McDuffie. They've always liked McDuffie. They trust McDuffie. And it's kind of, you start to appreciate, first of all, 2 years ago, we all loved McDuffie. I think last year with Edgerrin Cooper, and then Wilson played really well at middle linebacker when they put him there. I think the standard just kind of got raised, and I don't think McDuffie kind of rose to it. But he's described as a throwback player and an old school type of guy, as opposed to the more finesse-oriented players today. And it kind of checks out. Like, I wouldn't go to the extreme on that, but the thing I've always liked about McDuffie is the tackling. It's the downhill, attacking the running back, good angles, good wrap-up, making plays like that. So it is kind of cool that, whether it's valid or not, that McDuffie sees himself and is described as kind of a throwback, just smash-mouth linebacker. I appreciate that. Apparently, he has a rigorous training regimen. He works out 4 to 5 hours a day after taking just 2 weeks off for the postseason. He's the son of a high school coaching legend from the Buffalo area. Developed incredible discipline from a young age, able to do 50 proper push-ups at 3.5 years old. He also did play for Jeff Hafley at Boston College. I don't remember if we made that connection before. We probably did, but I forgot. So there's your reminder if you didn't know. And he does believe that the 2025 Green Bay Packers can field one of the NFL's best defenses. So that was more or less it. Just kind of talks about how he's just a freaking hardcore dude. He's tough. He's disciplined. Probably another thing the Packers love about him. He goes about things the right way. Real hard worker. I'm sure that translates to the playbook and things of that nature. The familiarity with Hafley probably doesn't hurt. So, I'm hopeful, with Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker pretty much solidified as linebackers. If we can just commit to him as our third linebacker, and I do think they complement each other pretty well. I never really cared for Quay as the Mike, but I guess I get it, and I can understand it if he can handle the responsibility of it. Might have to do a little bit of looking for depth, and kind of a sneaky depth thing where it's depth, but also maybe somebody that could take over and kind of become a really good linebacker. You never know. But yeah, we got our group, and that's there's so much focus on we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have this. I, for the first time in a while, feel relatively good about our linebackers. We didn't get to see everything all at once together. There was injuries, and Edgerrin didn't really fully come on until later. They kind of eased him in. If these guys can stay healthy, I think Quay played better with Edgerrin there. I think he did some really good things. I don't know if he's ever going to be a great linebacker, but if he could just be a decent enough role player, if we can shrink and minimize his responsibilities and allow him to just attack, I feel pretty good about it. Could be better, certainly, but I feel okay. All right, in NFL news today, pretty hilarious with the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. So Diana Rossini says the Vikings haven't closed the door yet on Aaron Rodgers. About 10 minutes later, the Vikings have definitely closed the door on Aaron Rodgers. They're not going that route. And then, not literally, but 10 seconds later, Schefter comes out and says Aaron Rodgers might not want to play this year. After it was like a done deal with the Steelers, then it's, don't give up on the Vikings, and it's, no, definitely give up on the Vikings. Then it's, I don't think he's going to play. Okay. Sounds good. I love that I can still engage with this from afar. It's entertaining, but it doesn't affect me. So I don't have any emotional investment in this. Some extremely minor Packers news. They hired Kevin Manera as general counsel. So, in case they need that. And they signed linebacker Christian Welch. Welch has been here before. We've done this before. There's your depth for now. J.J. Watt apparently is going to become a CBS NFL analyst. Gary Danielson is retiring. To be honest, I have no idea who that is, but there you go. J.J. Watt's going to be getting a job. That is absolutely the way things are going. If you're looking to get into NFL media or broadcasting, first of all, don't. Sports media is YouTube. There's no reason to do anything else. unless your goal is to work really hard, get a degree, pay a bunch of money for that degree, maybe get a job that doesn't pay very well and deal with constant layoffs. Just do YouTube on the side. But yeah, the new thing is former players come in and talk about football. Adam Schefter reported that Brandon Ayuk, who had a knee injury, could be ready to go and play by mid-season. Doesn't make a ton of sense to have two receivers waiting to come back until mid-season. So from a Packers standpoint, I don't fully understand that aside from like a more long-term thing. But problem with it being long-term is Brandon Ayuk is out with an injury this year. He's going to come back. He's not going to be super young, and you don't know how he's going to perform after that injury. So how much are you willing to give up for that? Ian Rappaport, getting back to the draft here, says that some NFL teams have graded Shedeur Sanders as a mid to late first-round pick. Again, it really just kind of matters who has him high, but it is worth noting that he could end up falling just by virtue of if the teams that have him graded high, number one, don't plan on drafting a quarterback, or number two, don't end up drafting a quarterback, then yeah, he's not going. There's going to be teams that are like, no, he's not good enough. We're not taking him here. And I already saw a note. It's not in here, but it was just from all the different note-taking that I was doing. Apparently the Jets are looking to look at sort of a day two quarterback option. They're not interested in doing anything in the first round. So there you go. Probably have plenty of teams like that are like, yeah, we could use a quarterback, but I'm not doing that. Ryan Dunleavy on X, NFL Live on ESPN NFL, blah, blah, blah. Adam Schefter said today the Browns are leaning toward Abdul Carter, which means the draft starts at 3. Now, I understand the question is, well, who the heck are the Titans taking? I think the fact of the matter is it's going to be Cam Ward and then Abdul Carter. The strong belief right now, just going through mock drafts and everything else, is that the Titans will stick and pick Cam Ward, which makes the most sense. If you don't have a quarterback and you think he's a good quarterback, you should draft him. And the rumor is they like him, but they're going to see if they can move the pick. Why would you move the pick? I guess if there's an offer big enough, you start to contemplate it. But if the Browns aren't looking to move up, you're not getting Abdul Carter, so it's not going to be a big package plus Abdul Carter. So what exactly are you going to do? I guess if you're big on the corner, I don't know. I'm never going to respect that guy until he becomes an NFL Hall of Famer, because I watched Alec Ayomanor, who is maybe a second-round pick, just destroy that freaking guy, Travis Hunter. So I can't get there. Plus the whole like hybrid thing, I think that's crazy to me. Dude's a corner, and how good of a corner is he? He's very good. Okay, great, he's a good corner. Whatever, we'll see. But again, Cam Ward, then Abdul Carter, and then it's what are the Giants going to do? Are they going to be high enough on Shedeur Sanders? It doesn't sound like it right now. So Hunter? I don't know. But it's a fun period, but it's also my least favorite because I don't want to know. I like when we can kind of like, oh, we got it. We know the answer. I love information. This is wonderful. But we get to draft day, and it's like, well, we know who the first 7 picks are going to be. It's like, well, that's stupid. And there's never surprises. I mean, very rarely. And by surprises, I don't mean just like some crazy pick that happened from somebody who we didn't know what they were going to pick. Or we had some like we know they're going to pick this person, and then they don't. It just doesn't really happen. At least it hasn't in recent memory. Top 3, 4, 5, 6 picks, when we kind of have it locked in, I'm always sitting there going, well, maybe something crazy will happen. Nope, no, check that one off. Same thing that everybody said for a long time. And then you got like last year where they're not even hiding it, like the Bears with Caleb. It was just, that was such a locked up, done deal. Met with them 19 times, never met with anybody else. Like, okay, dude, frickin' calm down. Something that made me exceedingly happy, I've been hyping up Ole Miss as my team this year. According to Easton Butler, there were several members of the Packers staff at Ole Miss Pro Day. Sources are saying all were heavily watching Trey Amos. I'm not mad about that, by the way. It doesn't have to be one way or another. I'm glad that they were there, and I am very interested in Trey Amos. I've heard some very positive things. I'm still in a freaking whirlwind right now trying to calm things down, and from what I've seen and what I've said and what I've heard and combine data and athletic data. Beyond all that, it's my head's spinning a little bit, but I do know that he's one of the guys that I'm supremely intrigued by. We'll put it that way. We'll get to some of the other Easton Butler stuff here in a minute. Actually, let's just do it. So as far as top 30 visits, the last we had talked about was Isaiah Bond out of Texas. There was report, I don't think I mentioned this, but They had Siobhan Revel come in as a top 30 visit. In addition, the pro day visits, they apparently met with Amar Johnson, running back out of South Dakota State, Perry Carter, wide receiver out of Jacksonville State, and Darian Wiley, wide receiver out of Vanderbilt. Now, I probably shouldn't bring it up because I don't have the source in front of me. I don't remember where I saw it. I have to go back and find it. But somewhere out there, throughout all the notes, is the genuine feeling that the Packers are looking very hard at wide receiver in the first round. I know, I'm not trying to get your hopes up. I get it. But we've never really heard this before. The amount of intentionality with which they're looking at wide receiver, and it doesn't have to be first round because there's not that many good first round wide receivers anyways, but the bottom line is they seem to be very seriously looking at wide receiver, period, and are very interested in potentially looking at some of these receivers. I mean, just looking at this list of people they've looked at, it's a heavy percentage are wide receivers. I know Amos is a corner. I'm not making that connection. It's just the last one we talked about was a wide receiver, and I glanced up and I saw a ton of wide receivers, including in the top 30 visit. And it's just one of those things I'm starting to get a feeling is a thing that the Packers are. I've been trying to figure out where the desperation is. I've been saying for a long time I think it's edge, but I'm getting the feeling more and more like wide receiver is a bit like when I don't know, whatever. We know edge is, but I think it's entirely possible for the Packers to look at their group and say, good enough. But they're not doing that. Now, they did that when we had Devontae, which is fair to say good enough when you have Devontae. But when you look at the situation and say, we don't have a number one, and if we did, it's the guy that's hurt all year, and I don't even know if he's going to make it back next year. And Romeo, I don't know if he's going to be back next year. And Wicks can't catch footballs, and Reed kind of collapsed there toward the end, at least situationally. Sometimes he's great, sometimes he's terrible. This is spiraling a little bit for us, and it feels like we could be a year removed from just not having hardly anything to rely on at wide receiver. So, if that were a person's vantage point, you could understand where some of the panic might come in. But all right, let's take our final break. We got just two little bit of news and notesy things here left, NFL related, and then we'll see where that takes us. We'll be right back. So, according to Yahoo Sports' Charles Robinson, Roger Goodell and NFL owners will discuss the possibility of adding an 18th game to the regular season at next week's NFL owners meeting. How many times did I tell you this is going to happen? Well, it's got to be agreed to. It's going to be agreed to. It's going to happen. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. Per Robinson, multiple league and players' union sources say that Goodell and the owners are expected to make more assertive efforts for an 18th game this summer. Robinson also indicated that team owners would like to opt out of the league's domestic media rights contracts, which Goodell and the owners believe are underpriced. The contracts are not set to expire until 2029, though. Opting out of the contracts before cementing an 18-game schedule would create more problems for the owners down the road, which may provide the NFL Players Union with leverage as time is on the latter party's side. The players reportedly wish to increase their split of league revenue from 48% to 50-50, which could play a role in negotiations. So, I mean, look, they're already willing to come to the table, apparently. We have an offer, essentially. We want 50-50 stakes. Not saying that would get the deal done, but they're throwing some stuff out there. Oh, yeah, you want that? Guess what we want? So we'll see. Obviously, there's resistance. They didn't want the 17th game, so why would they want the 18th game? But guess what? They got a 17th game, didn't they? As far as banning the tush push, apparently that is growing in popularity. It's not just the Green Bay Packers. Now there is some actual movement to this possibly being banned. Not sure if that's enough to actually support it, but it does sound like it's picking up a little bit of momentum. Some other potential changes here. Changes to the kickoff rule. One proposal is to make the 2024 dynamic kickoff setup permanent, as it successfully reduced injury rates. Another is to move the touchback spot from the 30 to the 35-yard line to encourage more returns. A lot of people don't like that. I do like that. I said this very, 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 very early on in the season. When I saw that people were regularly returning it to the 30 whatever, teams are going to just kick it out of the end zone because they'll just hand you that rather than allowing you to return it. So what are you going to do? You move it to the 35. If you want to do that, go ahead and do that. But now you're probably less likely to kick it into the end zone. You're going to want to kick it short, presumably because 35 is a different calculation. If most of the time they're not getting to the 35, then you probably want to take your chances, kick it to them. It seems like a minor difference, but I don't think it is if the typical return is to about the 30. 28, 30, whatever, 32, 30. It's right in that range where you could see a handshake deal and be like, yeah, I'll take the 30. Okay, fine, we'll give you 30. I think the expectation was everybody's going to kick it short because nobody's going to want to do that, but that wasn't the case. And so 35, if most teams are not able to get to the 35, then most of the time you're going to allow them to return it, which means you get more returning, which is great. The problem is, what does that do to their data on concussions? Because a big part of the reason the concussions were down, not saying in contrast to before, because there were a lot of touchbacks before, but a big part of that is there's not a lot of returns. So when the returns spike, which we want, because it's football and we like playing football, then that probably has a negative impact on the concussion data. But, I don't know. A third proposal would allow a trailing team to declare an onside kick at any point during the game, not just in the fourth quarter. There appears to be sufficient support for all three kickoff-related measures to pass. I think that last one is kind of stupid, just because who is going to do that? I guess if you're down by a huge amount, but the return rate, it's so low. I mean, if it's the third quarter, just get a stop and get the ball back and see what you can do. So I don't know. Presumably somebody would have wanted to do that and wasn't allowed, and so then they're like, well, I wish we were allowed to. But I can't think of a scenario where you would want to declare an onside prior to the fourth quarter. Some changes to the free agency contact window. A proposal would permit one direct phone call or video conference between teams and free agents during the legal tampering period. It would also allow arranging travel once an agreement is reached. The goal is to improve the free agent courting process and allow direct player communication. This rule change is believed to have enough support to pass. So, all right, it's kind of an interesting one. Defensive penalty first downs. The Detroit Lions proposed, we talked about this, eliminating automatic first downs for defensive holding and illegal contact. It would become solely a 5-yard penalty unless the yardage itself results in a first down. See, I didn't know about that last piece there. The proposal is not expected to have enough support to pass. Oh, I see. Never mind. I misunderstood that. So yeah, if it was 3rd and 4, it would be a first down. But yeah, I don't support that either. I think that's silly. I think it just encourages DBs to grab and hold and do all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, if it's 3rd and 15 and you're like going to get beat, plus you're probably doing this all game long. That's one of the other things too. It's not like every time you grab somebody you get caught. I'm guessing most of the time you don't get caught. So if it's 3rd and 15, you're going to be a little bit handsy, especially if you're starting to lose your footing or whatever the case may be. You start grabbing, they throw a flag, who cares? Now it's 3rd and 10. I'm going to do it again, and hopefully they don't get caught again. Or I'm just going to beat this. It just gives you a mulligan. I mean, unless the ball's in the air, which becomes pass interference, but as long as it's not, it's just defensive holding. It's 5 yards. That's nonsense. Maybe there's a better solution to what we have now. 5 yards seems a little crazy to me. Because if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm absolutely pushing heavy physicality. And then finally, some playoff seeding changes. Another Lions proposal suggests altering playoff seeding to prioritize overall record over division winners for hosting home games, excluding the number 1 seed who retains advantages. This change is also not expected to have enough support. Lions got all the brilliant ideas, don't they? League meeting officially begins Sunday. So is that yesterday? Palm Beach, Florida, 75% majority is needed to rule for changes. So that makes it obviously a lot bigger. I was thinking above 50%, but yeah, 75, which makes sense. I mean, you want it to be a very rare thing, and only when it's very much in agreement that it needs to happen. So I can understand that, but we'll see what the news coming out is about that. We don't have a ton of time, so I'm not exactly sure the best way to go through all of this. I've got notes right now on 21 different, it's not even true, 21 different notes on pro days, and you figure there's 2 to 3 usually schools, so, 40 to 50 different school pro day notes. I guess we'll just find some of the more interesting ones if we can here. Obviously, if there's anything regarding the Packers. So at Landon Jackson's pro day, he maintained his combine numbers. He did do the 3-cone under 7 seconds on multiple watches, performed well in defensive line drills, didn't do pass rush drills. He had dinner with the Bills and the Cowboys. Medically clean prospect, no off-the-field concerns, projected as a 3-down lineman, not considered an elite pass rusher, but grades well against the run. Top 42 selection, potentially late first-round pick. That's the reason I mentioned him. Not my favorite necessarily, but worth mentioning. He's kind of in that range. What else we got here? Mykel Williams. I believe the Packers have met with him recently. He was already up 8 pounds over his combine weight, which is pretty shocking, 268 pounds. Testing results, 40-yard dash as fast as 4.68 on somebody's watch. He's going to do the remaining position drills with Jalen Walker in April. Panthers apparently showing a ton of interest. Expected to go top half of the first round, so probably won't see him in the mix for the Green Bay Packers. We'll see. Maxwell Hairston is becoming a pretty popular pick as well, especially knowing the Packers' penchant for extremely athletic guys. Don't have a ton of notes, but it just says he maintained his combine numbers of 4.28 second 40-yard dash, projected to be a potential late first-round pick. That's what he did at the Kentucky Pro Day. Kyle Kennard, another edge rusher, had similar 40-yard dash time, only participated in pass rush drills, no coverage or pass defense work. Terrific suddenness and explosion all morning was one of the notes coming out of his pro day. He met with the Patriots on Tuesday, Eagles he met with Wednesday. Luther Burden, wide receiver at Missouri's pro day, kept his combine number, some reports of falling draft stock. Sources suggest his selection will be between 16 and 25, so there's that range. Recent mocks have him going to Seattle. Membo is also there, obviously, but he's going to be well out of our range. Azaria Thomas at the Florida State Pro Day. Packers were there, by the way. I forgot to be checking that all along, but Matt Malaspina, director of college scouting, was at this Florida State Pro Day. 40-yard dash was 4.57 seconds. Some recorded as low as 4.5s, recorded low 4.5s. Broad jump 10.2. Had good cover skills. Strong Senior Bowl practice performance testing numbers may hurt his draft stock. Previously considered top 42 prospect. So we've been seeing a lot of these corners drop from first round into the second and kind of further down, saying he's not a top 42 prospect or probably isn't right now. Could potentially mean, second round, or Packers pull the trigger in the first and just take everybody off. Marshall Pro Day, Mike Green didn't do the 40, completed his shuttle runs, looked impressive in drills, described as athletic, explosive, and strong. Almost flipped over the sled during drills. And as soon as I saw that note, it reminded me of that one play. I've mentioned this numerous times. A lot of times I'll watch and I just don't really get it. And then there's that one play that just seems like, what the heck was that? There was I don't even remember it now. It's why I have to do these highlight videos and whatnot. But Mike Green on one play, just one arm tossed a guy, probably a 310-pound offensive lineman, and made it look so easy. And it's like, wait a minute. Where did that power come from? So it's one of those things that you put in the back of your mind that's in there. At the Texas Pro Day, got a lot of guys here. Jahdae Barron and Andrew Makuba. They put kind of dual notes here, but it says both look terrific in drills, smooth and clean in their movements, backpedal and ability to break to the ball. Barron expected to be the second corner selected in the bottom half of round 1. And then it says scheduled to meet with Saints, Bears, and Steelers. I don't know which one they're talking about, but I think they mean Jahdae Barron, but I don't know. Calvin Banks and Cam Williams, probably not really Packers prospects, but it might as well mention it. Both look good in position bills. Banks really stood out, it says. Matthew Golden ran a 4.29 at the Combine, it says. Looked terrific in drills, caught the ball extremely well, ran outstanding routes. Observers said he looked like an NFL receiver. So that's a big deal. I mean, the fact that he showed up with the Combine he had, and then he goes to the Pro Day, and everybody there is just blown away with how good of a receiver he is. Because, sometimes it's 40 time is just 40 time. And it's like, okay, but is there an NFL receiver in there? And for him to show out like that, it's going to speak volumes. All 32 teams present, so the Packers were there. Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State wide receiver, timed between 4.41 and 4.47 seconds. Steelers clocked him at 4.43. 38-inch vert, 4.11 seconds in the short shuttle. Caught the ball extremely well in position drills, looked both fluid and natural. 40 times cements Ibuka as a first-round selection, likely in the middle part of frame. Had dinner with the Steelers, head coach Mike Tomlin, and GM Omar Khan. Pro Day observers believe receiver run will begin with the Seahawks at 18 and run through pick 26 with the Rams. Packers, Chargers, and Steelers all mentioned as teams looking... this is the note. Packers, Chargers, and Steelers all mentioned as teams looking at receiver in the first round. I'm so happy I found that note. So, this is Tony Pauline talking to people that are there. And the people that are there are mentioning, I'm sure he just asked, who do you think is looking at Emeka Ibuka? And they said the Packers, Chargers, and Steelers are looking at receivers in the first round. Does not mean it's going to happen. But this is not a list that they're usually a part of. Bashol Tootin. I'll never not notice that guy when I see him. Shamar Stewart watched. He didn't participate. Nick Scorton, my dude, did not perform any testing. Participated in both defensive line and linebacker drills. Looked brilliant in both drill types. Moved incredibly well. Showed quick hips in coverage drills. Caught every ball in pass defense simulation. Made acrobatic interceptions. Lost nearly 25 pounds postseason from 280 to 257 at the Combine. Reports suggest Texas A&M required him to put on too much weight. He met with the Cowboys and Jets Wednesday, interviewed with the Ravens and Texans at the Pro Day. Scorton is ahead of Turner, according to, I don't know who exactly that's according to, but somebody put him there. Ravens mentioned as potential late round 1 landing spot for Scorton. Shamar Turner, another defensive lineman, did not perform any testing but participated in drills, looked great in defensive drills, described as fluid as well as smooth, easily moved around the field, had surgery for a stress fracture. He has a rod in his leg last August. Barely a week to prepare for the Pro Day workout. Teams believe late part of round 1 is not completely out of the question. Had dinner with Cowboys Wednesday. Cowboys are just taking everybody out to dinner. Met with the Jets later Wednesday evening. Met at length with the Vikings and Dolphins before the Pro Day. See, Vikings fans, don't you love this show? I even give you plenty for your own team there. There was another one done for the Texas A&M Pro Day here, so I'll kind of double back a little bit here on Shamar Stewart. Some of it is duplicate, but it's kind of interesting because it sounds like Shamar Stewart is not really as popular as it would seem. I'm sure there's disagreement among different teams and whatnot, but anyways, here's what it says. Had turned in an Olympian workout at the Combine, but didn't do position drills there either. So, that's kind of what they want to see. Like, we know you're an athlete. Can you play football? And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do position drills. That's not good. Decision not to participate in position drills was disconcerting to teams. Teams concerned about his ability to change direction or bend the edge. Despite his athleticism, only produced 1.5 sacks in 2024. Teams attribute to this to his inability to change direction or quickly redirect to the quarterback, which resulted in multiple missed sacks and missed opportunities. Teams suggest he needs a direct line to make a play on the ball. He's being compared to Vernon Golston, who is the Jets' 8th pick and a first-round flop. So a lot of people are looking at him and saying he's an athlete. He's not an edge rusher, right? I mean, for his size, he runs really fast, and that's cool. He doesn't play football well. He can't bend the edge. His ability to actually finish on these, and this is probably a big part of, you got some guys that are pressure guys that don't really turn in a ton of sacks. Well, part of that could be, number one, tackling sucks. How many times have you seen that? Just slips right through his arms. And number two, I mean, if you can kind of bend the edge, but you can't really get around, sometimes you kind of scare the quarterback up and out of the pocket kind of thing, as opposed to collapsing it or getting all the way around and just quickly popping the guy. You can create pressures, but really suck at getting sacks. Not saying that's everybody, but I think for some people that's probably the case, and it makes sense for Shamar Stewart. Don't really care about the notes, by the way, but I'm just mentioning there's a Carter Runyon here, so I don't know if there's any relation there to John Runyon, but he's there. Ty Felton, I'll mention him just because he's come up a couple times, at least for me, looking heavier at wide receiver and whatnot at Maryland's Pro Day. The program's top prospect who, quote-unquote, looked terrific, stood on these combine numbers, which was 4.37 in the 40, 39.5 vert, 10.10 broad jump. Measured just over 6'1" at 183 pounds, outstanding in position drills, caught the ball well, and was both fast as well as sudden. Assured of being a day 2 pick, according to teams, coming off career seasons. 7 receivers, coaches attended workouts, met with the Saints, Browns, Ravens, Vikings, and Commanders over the past 2 days. 30 teams were in attendance for that. Penn State probably, there's a couple big prospects that we're not going to touch, but might as well mention Tyler Warren just on the very outside chance. Didn't work out at Pro Day or Combine, focusing on a handful of teams to showcase talents before the draft. That's interesting. Teams mentioned are the Jets, Bears, Colts, Saints, and both LA teams, described as a bit of an acquired taste. Yeah, he came off that way already. Not consensus top tight end. Author ranks him number 2 behind Colston Loveland. One team ranks him as the 4th best tight end. Wow. Considered a very safe pick at the tight end spot. And then I don't think there's a ton else here. Like I said, I've got hundreds of prospects, but most of them are not really on our radar, which is shame on all of us for not doing a better job. Just going to do one more scan through here, though, just to kind of pick out all the Green Bay Packers stuff. First of all, and I think I mentioned this, but Texas A&M Pro Day, Brian Gutekunst was in attendance. So you got Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart on here again for some reason, but those are the 2 main ones that were listed here. Nash Jones, offensive lineman, met with the Packers, Dolphins, and Chargers. It says here he had a terrific senior season, performed well at the Shrine Bowl, but wasn't invited to the Combine, measured 6'4", 320, 29 bench press reps, 31 vert, 9.5 broad jump, pulled his hamstring during his first 40-yard attempt, ending his workout day. Extensive meeting with the Seahawks, Vikings scheduled to meet, blah, blah, blah. Top 30 with the Broncos, projected as a likely day 3 selection. So Nash Jones met with the Packers. The Nebraska Pro Day, Green Bay Packers Director of Football Operations Milt Hendrickson was in attendance. At Nebraska, the guys that he was looking at, Thomas Fedone II, a tight end, probably not the main target, assuming there is a main target here. Nash Hutmacher, defensive tackle, Combine snub who surprised scouts with testing, measured 6'3", 312. Testing was 5.13 seconds in the 40, 7.463 cone, 4.56 short shuttle, jump 29.5. Projected at nose tackle, likely day 3 pick. It's the second time we've talked about a nose tackle. Again, no idea if that's the guy. Wide receiver Isaiah Nayer ran 4.4 40-yard dash at the Combine, measured 6'4", 218. That's beautiful. Ran shuttles and participated in position drills, described as a track athlete turned football player with immense upside. Oh, that's who the Packers are. That's what Milt, you bastard. Projected as a day 3 pick who will start on special teams, met with Saints and Cincinnati Bengals. I see you lurking over there, Milt. And then Ben Scott is a center. Certainly another possibility for the Packers. Measured 6'4 and a half, 306 pounds, 26 on the bench, 27 vert, blah, 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 blah. Transferred from Arizona State, started multiple positions, projected as a versatile utility lineman, taking part in Cardinals Pro Day, drawing interest from 49ers. I already mentioned Florida State had Packers' Matt Malaspina there, director of college scouting. In addition to Azaria Thomas, there was Josh Farmer, defensive tackle, looked impressive in position work, described as a fluid mover, draft stock rising over the past 2 months, benefited from strong Senior Bowl practices. And then, interestingly enough, Sion Lolahea, who's an edge rusher in an Oregon State transfer, actually the Packers worked him out as a linebacker and fullback, it says. So, kind of interesting. They wanted to kind of get their hands on him and see what he could do there. But he measured 6'2 and 3/4, 262. 40 time was low 4.8s, 3 cone 7.23, vert 29.5. Broad jump 8.9, shows pass rush ability, projects as a situational edge rusher, graded as an early day 3 pick, failed to meet expectations in 2024. So before the season, he was expected day 3 and then kind of failed to meet expectations. So the Packers tried to see what he can do at possibly linebacker and fullback, which I thought was pretty cool. Oregon Pro Day, mentioned this before, massive Packers presence there. Brian Gutekunst was there, John Eric Sullivan, the VP of Player Personnel, and John Wojciechowski, Director of Player Personnel, all in attendance. Josh Connerly was there, Johnny Cornelius, 2 offensive linemen, Jordan James, the running back, Jeffrey Bassa, the linebackers, are the ones listed here with notes. Then at the Georgia State Pro Day, Ben Chukwuma, offensive lineman, 6'6.5", 303 pounds, nearly 34-inch arms, 40-yard dash time of 5.17. Developing blocker, became a full-time starter last season. Team interest, Packers are one of the teams showing interest. Beyond that, the Packers drafted his former teammate Travis Glover in the 6th round last year, who did make the final roster as a backup right tackle. So Jets and Packers are the two teams showing interest in him. Andre Biggers, defensive tackle, Shrine Bowl standout, displayed smoothness and athleticism in drills. Teams see scheme versatility, potentially to play nose tackle or 5 technique. That's 3 for 3 of potential nose tackles, just saying. Team meetings, Cardinals, Packers, and Bills. His draft projection is expected to be drafted. That's about as good as it gets. And then finally, I don't know if I mentioned this one, but Fadel Diggs, edge rusher, additional testing beyond the combine. He did 26 reps on the bench. Short shuttle was 4.36. Participated in pass rush drills, but no linebacker drills. Measured 6'4.5", 257 pounds. He had meetings with the Panthers, Packers, and Lions. Primarily considered a 3-4 linebacker, some interest as a one-gap defensive end. So that's all the notes I got as far as players we've talked about, as well as Packers-specific notes. The Ole Miss notes have not come out yet, even though Ole Miss did have their thing there. So be interested to see how that pans out with the Packers very much in attendance and whatnot, and how everybody did. And I'll try to keep up on this a little bit more as we go along, but that's what I got. And, for Packernet After Dark and whatnot, if you guys have questions, shoot them over and let's see what we have for notes and whatnot. I keep forgetting. You guys mentioned it plenty, and then I look at PFF or whatever, do my normal stuff, and forget to look at my own notes. Also, I just want to plug this again. I plugged it last night, but the YouTube channel, I'm starting to do something for fun. I'm watching prospects, and one of the problems that I always have watching prospects is I forget stuff. I'll take notes, but I don't exactly know what that means. Even if I know what it means, it's like I don't remember it happening, so it's hard to whatever. It'd be nice to be able to just flip the little highlight reel I put together back on and go, oh, yeah, that's the thing he did. That was cool. So I'm doing that for YouTube content, but also largely for myself, and then I have the additional added bonus for fun of adding in some AI hype videos, hype music to overlay. It's all 22 footage, so it's better than what you're going to find mostly on YouTube. I'm not getting banned for it, which is surprising. So it's going to be better type stuff than what I think. I don't like highlight videos because a lot of it is just, let's find them catching a touchdown pass, and it's like, some of them aren't impressive, though, so I don't really care. I just want to see good play, you know what I mean? So the highlight that I did put up was Trey Harris, because I wanted to just demonstrate what I like about the guy, so if you're interested, you can go watch that. And as I said, there are plays on there where he doesn't catch the ball. Doesn't matter. I don't care about the production. I care about him doing stuff like beating 2 guys down the field, getting behind the safety, and then the quarterback missed, or one play where off the line, I just thought it looked really nice. Ball didn't even go to him. Don't care. I like that. So pretty untraditional hype video, but we're going to continue that. I have Teteroa McMillan song queued up, so that'll be next. And then I'm thinking about going over to Alec Aomanor because I want to see him against Travis Hunter, just beating on the dude. But anyways, yeah, go check that out. By the way, so Packernet Podcast is the YouTube channel. Go subscribe. Go hit the bell notification so you don't miss it when I drop a new video. Also, Patreon. If you are a patron, you can request players for me to do the highlight videos, and you can request what type of music you want. Make it Metallica sounding, make it Megadeth, make it, like I said, this last one I did was Tekashi 6ix9ine. I don't know why it popped into my head, and I thought that would be, he's kind of got like hardcore rap, might be kind of cool. I kind of like the song, it's pretty good. But blues, jazz, I don't freaking care. I mean, try to make it kind of cool so the YouTube isn't, it's like a hype video. It's like, what the heck am I listening to? But I will hear you out. I might have to tweak it a little. But yeah, Patreon, as little as $1 a month. If you want to jump in there and participate, we'll have good times. All right, that's it. I'm out of here. Have a good one. Bye-bye.